able to have the kind of control over a man's feelings that literally has every man in the room want you, then you need to watch this short video to the very end because, for a very good reason, and an extremely weird reason, I've stumbled upon a crazy, simple, secret technique that no other woman has ever heard before that will give any woman who uses it the secret power to make any man literally become putty in your hands. First though, a word of fair warning. This simple secret technique really does have a bit of a dark side, okay? So be careful with it. Because I'm talking about a method that will give you the kind of emotional control over men that will have even the biggest player of them all forgetting every other woman, changing his ways forever and seeing you as the prize he just has to win. So how the heck is this kind of secret power over men even possible? Well, it's all thanks to something totally bizarre I used to do for a living, which taught me some insane things about the male mind that no other woman has ever discovered before. I've learned what to do to grab any guy's attention and have him feeling emotionally compelled to single you out of the crowd and ask you for a date. I've learned how to make even the most emotionally immature Peter Pan man who's terrified of commitment suddenly break down his walls, beg for a chance to be with you, and literally turn his life inside out just to please you. In fact, I literally discovered how to make every man in the room want you to the extent that you could be sitting in a room full of Victoria's Secret models in their underwear, wearing stained track pants with spinach in your teeth, and he will still hone in on you like a tractor beam on full force. However, I should warn you, this secret technique is more than a little bit wacky because it has been brutally tested and proven to grab any guy's attention and focus it on you, which means you can use the same simple technique to make any man experience an obsessive compulsion to approach you and beg you for your number and literally rack his brain for hours to come up with the most romantic, exciting date he can think of just to impress you. You can use it to have even the most heartless modelizer forget everything and start chasing you around, shamelessly pestering you for a relationship. You can use it to have that same guy who just wanted to be friends suddenly feeling so mysteriously attracted to you that he can't even explain it. Or you can simply use this same exact secret technique to fill the man you want with so much happiness and joy at being with you that it's almost unbelievable. Now, first things first, I really should admit to you that the secret technique I'm about to reveal has already transformed the love lives of literally thousands of women who've used it in secret to get even the most freedom-loving, relationship-hating, flirtatious ladies' man of them all to drop everything and fall so completely in love that he had no idea what hit him. Yet, this secret technique is so powerful that I just can't afford to share it with everybody because I want to keep this technique for only a small group of select women who will use it for good, to meet so many amazing men, go on so many incredible dates, and ultimately have their man so passionately in love with them that he wants you and only you forever. So how do I know that this secret technique really will work on any man? And yes, I do mean any man. Well, that's a really good question, and this is where things start to get a little bit weird because I only know about this secret in the first place because I've spent the last 10 years working in a very hush-hush organization just for men known as the Wing Girl Method. So what the heck is a wing girl, right? Well, it sounds a bit crazy, but here's how it works. By day, I'm normal, everyday Marni Kinrys, yet by night, I become the wing girl and I'm paid extremely good money to secretly teach tens of thousands of men all over the world how to go from being the nice guy that nobody wants to Mr. Holy Crap, I want him. Yeah, I'm a wing girl. In fact, I am the world's first ever professional wing girl, and I am the one who spawned the movement that copycat wing girls the world over are now using. Feel free to Google me, okay? My name is Marni Kinrys, and you'll see some of the crazy stuff I've been involved in. You can check me out on Fox News, Men's Health Magazine, Glamour Magazine, Penthouse, MTV, just to name a few. Because things are about to get really interesting in about 3 seconds from now. Now, in my time as a wing girl, I've learned crazy secrets about men. Secrets that as a woman, I would never have had I not been a wing girl. Men shared with me all the top secret crazy stuff that they would never normally tell a woman. Yet now, I have to break my professional secrecy for the first time ever and air these thousands of men's dirty laundry right in front of you. See, as the wing girl, my job was to crawl deep into the male mind and discover the real truth about how men really work. I learned things like why most men will never approach a woman they're truly attracted to, what makes a man fall in love, why guys run hot and cold with a woman they actually care about, why they back off so fast after pulling out all the stops to get you interested in the first place, what makes a man stop caring about his buddies, his hobbies, his PlayStation, and focus solely on you. The real reason so many guys start off loving and charming, but then change their mind and disappear from the relationship. Why he won't open up about his feelings. What really scares a man, even what inspires a total player to fall in love and want marriage. Tens of thousands of real life guys have told me this stuff personally under the strictest confidence and truth. And these secrets were just so juicy that I had to share them for good with you. Yet they could also be used for incredible harm if they do fall into the wrong hands. Kind of like how you can use antibiotics to cure illness, or if you give them to someone who's allergic, you could accidentally kill them. So with the potential risks in mind, I kept my lips zipped, and over the following decade, I made sure to use my unique insight into the male mind, sticky and only for men. Until late one Saturday night, when the most irritating conversation I have ever heard forced me to open my mouth and break my code of silence. Here's how it went down. I was out one Saturday night at a dinner party with some of my best girlfriends, and as so often happens, after the wine starts flowing, we started trading war stories about men. One friend, Jen, confessed out loud that she thought her boyfriend of 3 years was about to break up with her. "He's just not that in love with me anymore," she said, gulping her wine and wiping at her eyes with a napkin. "When we first got together, it was all cuddles and sweetness, but now he just doesn't seem to care for me anymore. We're in a total rut, and I just don't know how to get him to open up and love me again." Another friend, Joe, said, "Hey, at least you're in a relationship. I've been single for literally 2 solid years now, and I'm so tired of going on these dates that just never seem to go anywhere. It's freaking exhausting. I always meet a man and think, wow, he seems great, but then either there'll be no spark, or all he'll do is talk about himself all the time and not ask me one question, or he'll turn out to be a total player, or I'll think we have a real connection, but then he just disappears into nowhere like he changed his mind for absolutely no reason. I just can't understand it. I don't know where all the good men are. Maybe they're just all taken already. I swear to God, it's this town we're living in," piped up another woman, Brenda, who's a close friend of mine. "Everyone here is either single and having too much fun playing the field to settle down, or they're the kind of jerk that no sane woman would ever want, or they're too in love with their career and hobbies to make room for a woman, or they're already married." I agree with you, Joe. The good ones are already taken. And that's when I have to admit I just couldn't sit there and listen to this nonsense for one more second. "You guys," I said, exasperated, "what are you talking about? This is all complete garbage." Well, as soon as I said that, the whole room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. All eyes were on me, and that's when I realized I'd done something no woman was supposed to do. I'd broken the girl code. The code that said, when your friends are busy bitching about their love lives, you're supposed to agree with them and support them. Blame the men, blame the world, blame the universe, but whatever you do, never ever tell them their complaints are garbage. And into the shocked silence, that's when Brenda said, "Well, Marnie, if you know something we don't, then why don't you tell us? We're all dying to hear." So I opened my big mouth, and before I could stop myself, I blurted out the truth about men. All the hard-won facts, advice, and techniques I'd gleaned from my years of prying the truth out of tens of thousands of men. It all came rushing out of my mouth like I opened up some kind of floodgate. I couldn't believe myself, to be honest. I revealed facts, I gave them real-life examples, and I exploded the myths and lies surrounding men and love. And when I finally finished, there was a stunned silence around the table, and immediately I wanted to crawl under a rock and hide. And I was questioning how I could have done that. I had just betrayed the sworn silence of a decade of hard-won trust from my thousands upon thousands of male clients. They trusted me with the truth about themselves and women, truths that they would never want the world to know about, and now I'd gone and told it to an entire room full of women. Everyone stared at me in silence for about 10 seconds, and let me tell you, it was the worst 10 seconds of my life. And then all my friends turned back to each other and started chatting away like nothing had even happened. And I was totally confused. It was like I hadn't said anything at all. I didn't know if they were just being polite. Had I made a faux pas? Did they not even care? Baffled but relieved, I turned back to my dinner and tried to forget I'd ever said anything, and it wasn't until 5 days later that the results of my big fat mouth turned up to bite me in the butt. I was sitting with my feet up on my desk on Wednesday morning of the following week, just wrapping up a coaching call with another male client, when all of a sudden, my office door burst open and a gaggle of women came storming in. With a sinking heart, I recognized Jen and Brenda and Joe and 2 other women from the fateful dinner party of the previous weekend. So I quickly told my client I'd have to call him right back, and I hung up the phone with really sweaty palms and a sense of nervous dread boiling in my gut. "Hey," I said nervously, "what's up?" I figured they'd come to chew me out about wrecking the dinner party with my big mouthed speech. So I braced myself for a wave of anger from my friends, but instead, all 5 of them stormed around the desk, pulled me out of my seat, and hugged me so tight I thought my heart was going to explode. When they'd finished choking the life out of me, I broke free and laughed and was like, "What's going on?" They all looked at each other, grinning, and then Jen spoke up first. "Marnie, I have to admit, on Saturday night, I was actually very angry with you. I felt like you'd ripped my heart out of my chest and stomped on it. I felt like you were blaming me for the problems I was having in my love life. But then I thought about it on the way home, and I realized that maybe what you said was right. So I took a few of your techniques that you told us about, and I used them on Michael when I got home. I figured I had nothing left to lose, so I was certain he was going to break up with me. But the very second I did what you said, it was almost unbelievable. He reached out and pulled me in so close that I almost started crying. And when I looked at his face, he was staring at me with such love that I couldn't even believe it was the same man. Jen said that she and Michael ended up having a big talk that night, and they connected emotionally for the first time in months. And Jen went to sleep that night, finally feeling hopeful that things just might work out. Yet, even she had no idea of the astonishing developments that were about to take place. Early the following morning, her cell phone rang, and it was Michael. In an urgent tone of voice, he told her that he had to talk to her right away. He then said, "Jen, I actually realized something after talking to you last night. I can't explain how it happened, but something about the way you acted made me realize how special you are to me." It was like a light flipped on in my head. I suddenly saw how distant I've been and how much I've been taking you for granted. And basically, I suddenly realized what a crappy boyfriend I've been over the past few months, and I don't want to be that guy anymore. I want to be the type of guy someone like you deserves to be with. You deserve someone who will take care of you, protect you, be there for you, and just love you the way you deserve to be loved. What I'm trying to say is I finally woken up and realized that you are the most important person in the world to me, and I can't risk you ever getting away. So if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life being the guy you deserve to be with. Then, with a shy smile, Jen stopped talking, held out her left hand, and showed me the gigantic sparkly rock on her finger. Then, with a little squeal, she hopped over and threw her arms around me. "I just can't believe it, Marnie," she sobbed quietly. I'm just so shocked. I honestly thought he was about to break up with me. But when I did that thing that you told me about, it was like the missing piece just fell into place. Ever since that night, he's been acting so attentive and so in love with me that I feel like I'm walking on air. Now I finally have the type of relationship I've always wanted, and I could never have done it without you. Then the other women chimed in, and it turned out that Jen wasn't the only one with a success story from that night to share, because Brenda and Joe and the others had all taken my techniques, and on a total whim, they decided to use the techniques on some men they'd met recently while working out at the gym. Brenda said none of them expected anything to happen because the gym was packed with young, fit cheerleaders, all wearing skid-tight workout clothes and flipping their hair around. "We're pretty used to feeling invisible and in places like that," said Brenda. "I mean, none of us are ugly by any means, but when you're in a room full of 20-something cheerleaders, it tends to make you feel like kind of like a wallflower. But when we started using your techniques, well, speaking personally, I have never had that kind of attention from so many men before. It was like every man in the room couldn't stop staring at us. Even though I was sweaty in my ugly gym clothes and with no makeup, those men were treating me like I was a beauty queen. And if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would literally have never believed that level of attention was even possible for me." "Yeah," said Joe. "We were literally the center of attention, and we were practically fighting them off. Instead of checking out those cheerleader types, all those guys were literally putty in our hands, and every single one of us got asked out by at least one guy, and not just any old guys. They were smart and sexy and fit guys. And I've got a hot date lined up already, and you should see the six-pack on the guy who asked out Brenda. I had no idea there were these kind of men even available in the world anymore, and yet ever since I started using your techniques, they're literally crawling out of the woodwork. It's like you've finally got this magical power to finally make men start acting the way we've always wished they would. Now, for the women who heard my little rant at the dinner party that night, everything ended happily because they finally got their hands on the biggest key to understanding men and making men want you. Yet, for most other women out there, it's a cold, lonely, and confusing world because they have no idea how to act to get the kind of power over a man's heart that has him acting like putty in your hands, and the root of the problem is simply yet devastating because it actually all comes from movies and magazines. Popular media create widespread confusion and loneliness among women because they make money by training women with phony advice that sounds good but never actually works. So you have to know if you've been experiencing problems with a man, it's absolutely not your fault. Fortunately, there's a silver lining, though, because there is a simple and shocking effective method for easily turning any love problem around. One that will have him wanting you over any other woman, and it all comes from the vital knowledge of how men really work, not women. That allows you to create that crucial shift in his brain that has him dropping the player behavior and ignoring every other woman in the room to pursue you. So now, I want to give you some valuable attraction and love tips that you can use right now to have any man singling you out and approaching you and begging you to be his girl and his only girl. No matter how crazy, unlikely, or downright impossible that might seem to you right now. Okay, here's weird love tip number 1 of 5. As the wing girl, I found man after man opening up and talking about the same problem with women. Men are literally terrified of rejection. Now, you might think you already know that, but I guarantee you that 99.8% of men are so rabidly insecure about rejection that they will actually deliberately not approach any woman they find truly attractive. Why? Because getting rejected by a woman they didn't really want anyway stings a lot less than getting rejected by a girl they really truly want. So what does that do for you? And what does that mean for you? Well, if you've ever found yourself thinking, I'm a great catch, why aren't the good men approaching me? Am I invisible here? Why do other girls easily attract men while I totally get left out and ignored? I'm sending really obvious signals his way. Why isn't he picking up on them? All that just may be for a surprising and downright weird reason. Guys may actually find you too desirable. To that extent, they may actually see your signals yet are still too scared of misreading them and making a fool of themselves right in front of you. So they will content themselves with approaching other, less scary, desirable women and leave you alone. And you may be thinking, yeah, right, Marnie, I may be a catch, but I'm hardly a supermodel. Or I know how to flirt, but it's just not working with this one guy. Or this may apply to the young hotties, but hardly so when every other woman in the room is 10 years younger and size 2. Come on. Well, I have to emphasize the fact that this has very little to do with your looks, your age, or your ability to flirt. And as you know, men find all sorts of weird things attractive in women. We often discount as flaws. Case in point, Jennifer Lawrence, the actress from The Hunger Games, was recently voted one of the top 5 sexiest women in the world. And it wasn't because of her pretty face, her sexy curves, or her cute little smile. The one thing that all men most commonly said was her sexiest quality of all was, believe it or not, her clumsiness. Men like the way she's always tripping over everything and making a mess of things. Her flaws make her approachable, even though most women would find themselves fire engine red with humiliation if they made an entrance by falling headfirst down the stairs into a party full of good-looking movie star men. So here's what this means for you. If you think of yourself as a catch, which you should, yet you're still not getting attention from every guy in the room, then you may be frightening off the very guys you want to approach without realizing it. Fortunately, catching a guy's eye, turning his head, and practically compelling him to walk up and beg for your number is almost ridiculously easy when you know how to do it. You just have to know how to create a sense of urgency deep inside his heart so that he literally feels emotionally compelled to hone in on you over all other women. to the extent that he's literally compelled to act on his desire for you right now, no matter what the consequences to his ego may be. So how on earth do you do that? Well, that brings me to my next big tip, which is weird love tip number 2 of 5. Most men cannot read your signals, no matter how obvious you think they are, because men just don't work like you. It's not that men don't want to approach you, ask you out, and it's not that men don't want to meet one amazing woman who they can love, support, and protect till the very end. The truth is, they do, or at least a lot of men do. Yeah, even the player, ladies, men, and pickup artists I have worked with, and remember, there have been literally hundreds of thousands of them. They all want that one amazing woman who understands him as a man. Yet their brains process this desire totally differently, and they just don't go about dating and attraction in the same way that women do. They think they work like us, but they don't. Okay, so here's an example. Men's brains literally see the world differently from us. Weird, but true. Men literally perceive colors, smells, and even emotions completely differently than we do, which means when you see purple, he sees brown. Where you smell skunk, he smells coffee. And when you feel attraction, he feels terrified that he'll get it wrong and ruin everything. Here's a recent real-life example to show you exactly what I mean. A good friend of mine was out on a date recently with this guy she really liked, and she found this man extremely attractive and was really hoping that he felt the same way. Yet, the moment they sat down together on their date, it was like he morphed into a completely different guy. He wouldn't shut up. All he could talk about was himself. For over an hour, he babbled nonstop and didn't even ask her one question. So feeling panicked that it was all going horribly, she made an excuse, bolted to the bathroom, and called me on her cell phone. "Marnie," she said, "it's all going wrong. He just won't shut up. He's ruining the date. What should I do?" After asking her a few quick questions, I immediately realized what was happening with this guy. The poor guy was nervous and desperate to impress her that he was choking. He was feeling the attraction, and it literally was making him do the opposite of what he should be doing. So straight away, I told her to do 3 simple things. Things I knew from my decade of experience would calm him down immediately and allow him to relax into being the same great man she'd originally fallen for. So she hung up the phone, went back, and did exactly what I told her, and it worked like gangbusters. Straight away, he calmed down, reconnected with her, and that magical chemistry feeling came right back between them. All because she knew what to do to have him relax and reconnect with her as a man that proved to him on an instinctual, emotional level that she got it. That she understood how guys work, what they need, and what allows them to just chill the heck out and be who they really are. And let me tell you, to most guys, this is like being handed the pot of gold, because not 1 in 10,000 women is capable of acting in the way that gives a guy permission to just feel the attraction and build on it easily. So what happened to my friend? Well, apparently the rest of the date ended up pretty good and amazing, and they wound up having an incredible, passionate relationship together, making out in the car at the end of the night. One that would never have happened if she didn't know how to have him calm down, act right, and make him connect with her in the right way. So what were these 3 simple things I told her to do? Well, I'll share that with you in just a second. First, I want to give you weird love tip number 3 of 5. As I previously mentioned, deep down, every man wants a great woman. He wants a lover, a best friend, someone who understands and gets him the way even his best buddies never will. Yet many men are not ready to admit to themselves that they want it because they have a deep, paralyzing fear, one that cripples the way that nearly every guy talks to and related to you as a man. Hint. This fear is why you'll so often find an otherwise great guy playing beer pong, having fart contests, and causing havoc with his buddies instead of taking a great woman like you on a fun, exciting romantic date. And it's not because he's a little boy or because he's emotionally immature. It's because of the deep-rooted fear all men have that murders their personality or makes them clam up like a mute or even makes them act stupid and shower you with dumb joke after dumb joke. It's the fear of the awkward silence. And to understand just how deeply rooted this fear really goes for guys, you have to know something called the male pressure cooker. Here's how it works. See, men know women are verbal creatures who prize the art of conversation in a man. And men also know that women always say they want the guy with a sense of humor. So guys, being guys, they put an insane amount of pressure on themselves to be the best conversationalist you've ever met in your entire life. They literally tie up their entire self-image of themselves as a man in their ability to impress you. I can tell you right now that this is no exaggeration at all. Every single guy who has ever approached you, talked to you, or asked you out is dealing with a deep-seated, catastrophic need to be that guy who impresses you, who stuns you with his wit, and who leaves you thinking, wow, he was the coolest, funniest dude I've ever met. In other words, to the average guy, his entire self-image of himself as a cool guy is tied up in the impression he makes on you. Now, most men don't consciously realize this, of course. All he knows is when he thinks about approaching you, talking to you, or leaning in for the kiss, his palms get sweaty, his gut starts churning, and every single time he's ever been rejected starts going through his head in a litany of ego-murdering pressure to perform. And guess what happens when a guy puts that kind of pressure on himself? Yeah, he chokes, he clams up, he gets awkward, he makes dumb jokes. He tells you stupid stuff to impress you, or he simply freaks himself out so badly that he just plain never approaches you in the first place. The guys who have approached you so far are those ones who were able to get over that fear enough to at least try to get to know you. Yet for every one guy who has made the leap of faith, there are 20 others hiding in the corner, just too darn scared of getting it wrong to even so much as come over to say hello. Now just think about what that means for a second. Imagine how amazing your love life would be if you knew exactly what to do to bring in the other guys and draw them to you like a tractor beam without having them get nervous or clam up or act weird. How much more attention would you get? Imagine how many fun, exciting dates you'd be able to go on. The awesome options you'd have to pick and choose only the best guys, or simply how to get the one you're already with to feel so comfortable and at ease with you that he feels a connection like no other when you're together. Well, as it should so happen, there are certain things any woman can do that flick this internal pressure cooker to off in his mind, so that you can not only attract men easily and have every man in the room wanting you, but you always know exactly what to do to set any man instantly at ease, so that he's free to feel the connection and the chemistry with you and actually act on it, so that you literally do have every man in the room wanting you. It all comes down to understanding how men really work, and more importantly, how men don't work, so that no matter what kind of dating, attraction, or love situation you're in, you always know exactly what to do and what not to do, to have him intuitively sense that you get who he is as a man, so that he starts to think, this one's a little bit different. Wow, I can't let her go. So how do you do that? Well, I'm very glad that you asked, because this next tip is the biggest key to grabbing a man's eye and turning his head and having him see you as that special woman who stands out in any crowd. First, though, I admit that all this has been a lot to cover, and there's a good chance you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and I get that, but let me break it down for you. Right now, you basically have two choices. Choice number one, you can leave this page, take what you've learned here today, and go try it alone. And who knows, you may even experience some results as long as you took really good notes. Or there's your other choice, the simple, easy, proven, and almost ridiculously powerful choice. You can stay on this page with me and let me take you by the hand and allow me to give you the fastest and most effective way possible to have total power over any man's heart, so that even the biggest player of them all finds himself changing his ways for you and singling you out in the way that only happens when he knows you truly understand him as a man. Why not let me cover all the hard yards for you, especially when I already have one? You don't need to batter your face against the brick wall of confusion, loneliness, and heartbreak with men anymore, not when I've already discovered the secret method for understanding how men really work, that you can use to make any man literally putty in your hands. One that's been brutally tested for years and has been proven to work for all the thousands of women who have already used it, to ignite a man's desire and have him bending over backwards to meet you, date you, want you, and love you just the way you always wished he would. Okay, Marnie, so what is this big secret technique you keep dangling in front of me? Well, I'm glad you asked, and the best way to answer you is to give you a short, real-life example of how it actually works. So You remember Jen, right? Well, when she used my secret techniques to experience such shocking success with a man who she was convinced was about to break up with her, all her other friends excitedly demanded to know how she turned him around so easily. So she shared my secret technique with them, and at first they almost laughed in her face because it sounded so simple and too easy to be true, but nobody could argue with the big sparkly diamond on her finger. So her friends took my secret and used it on their men, expecting nothing to happen. And what happened next was like a wildfire ripping through a pile of kindling, because the reactions of these men were so crazily emotional that almost nobody could believe it happened. Jen's friend Sienna was a savvy 35-year-old businesswoman who had no idea how to actually make a date go somewhere. She struggled to meet men, and when she finally found one she liked, it was literally an uphill battle getting him to return her interest. And the worst part was she could never get things to go past the first date or the second date. It always just fizzled out. That's what she said. I must be doing something wrong, but I literally have no idea what it could be. Maybe I'm just too old. Maybe I need to lose weight. I don't know what's wrong, Marnie, but can you tell me? I told her to forget that stupid diet and trash the entire concept of ever being too old for anything. And instead, I just wrote my technique down on a paper napkin and handed it to her. And I said, just use this, I said, and talk to me in a week. Well, Sienna didn't wait a week. She called me up 3 days later, and she said that when she used the secret technique in her life, it was like a light bulb went on inside her head, and she started to get so much male attention and interest that she said she felt like a movie star. I've never had so many options before, she squealed excitedly. I used to feel so awkward and weird when I talked to men. I hated going out to bars and parties and watching men pass me over for younger and skinnier girls. I felt old and I felt invisible and I hated it. But now attracting men and flirting with them is like a fun trip to the candy store. There's so many delicious options everywhere, and I know exactly what to do to get the one I want. I never knew it was so easy to surround myself with incredible men. This is the very way that I wanted to be dating and how it's supposed to be. Donna took the secret and used it on a man who